Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. A quick question for you. How ready are you to get unstuck? Today, I'm going to share with you 5 reasons why your unconscious mind is literally fighting against you for the success that you want. Welcome. My name is Kimberly Lebbing, and I work with business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs who are stuck, and I help them get unstuck in a very fast and effective way in a program that I call Rapid Results, 4-hour Rapid Results program. And so that's a little bit about me. Now I'm going to get right into why we sometimes stay stuck. So I'm sure you have heard that our unconscious mind runs 90% of what we do. So think about that. Like, we hear that and we're like, yeah, whatever. And then we go on and we do our robotic stuff that we've been doing forever and go on with the 90%. It also repeats itself quite a bit. So that's just a little piece of how important it is to make these changes when you are really stuck. If you're stuck in a relationship or you're stuck in a business and you're not moving forward the way you want to, you're not reaching the goals that you want to hit, something that is keeping you stuck there. So I'm going to share with you just some insights from my own training about the unconscious mind and how, hey, Antonio, and how that works. So first of all, so I'm going to share with you some prime directives. These are not all of them, but it is very relevant to what we're talking about today of the unconscious mind. So, and this will give you a little bit of an insight as to what is really going on behind the scenes when people feel stuck. So the very first thing to note is that your unconscious mind stores memories. That seems pretty simple, right? It stores all of them. They are all up there. I sometimes work with clients and they're like, I don't remember what happened. I can't, like, they don't have memories past they think. They're in there. So they are always in there. In fact, this happened to me as well. I think I shared it with you guys in this group, some of the ways that I grew up. I really suppressed some memories. That's actually the next part. And I had them, but I didn't have very memories that I could consciously remember. So that's really reason number one, is we have our unconscious mind storing memories. The second piece, the second prime directive of the unconscious mind is that it represses memories. So, and that was totally what was going on with me. So I wasn't remembering. So some of the things that happen to us, even when we're a child, I'll get out my glasses so you can see this, is whenever we have stuff happen to us, let's pretend for a moment that everyone's born with a pair of glasses. I've used this. It's such a great example and everybody gets it. You're born with this imaginary pair of glasses, and every single time something happens to you or that you witness something, and it doesn't even have to be anything major or traumatic. It can be very minor, but to a kid, you see it in a different light, or even as an adult, or whatever it was you went through, every single time, like a splotch, you get a splotch, you get another splotch, you get another splotch. And before long, you're having a really hard time looking through these glasses, and you're having a hard time, one, doing your business. You're having a hard, because you're seeing all these past things through this lens. You're having a hard time doing your business. You're having a hard time with relationships. It's all connected. And a lot of times not always, but a lot of times it's connected to past stuff. And like I said, sometimes it's not even anything major. Sometimes it's really minor. I'll give you an example of this. There was a woman that was actually in my training class when I was going through this, who was a realtor. And I'm going to take these off because of the glare. She already had a great business. She wanted to get to next level and she couldn't seem to get there. And one day during the middle of class, she banged her fist down on the desk and was like, I just want to play with the big boys. Well, as it turns out, what we discovered was when she was about 2 years old, she was the youngest of 5 brothers. They were out in the backyard playing flag football. And as she was teetering, out the back door behind them, her mom stopped her out of love because she was trying to protect her and yelled her name and said, you can't go out and play with the big boys or you'll get hurt. That registered at her unconscious mind at an unconscious level, and that affected her business. So that's why I say sometimes it's not even anything traumatic, but because of, somebody else's reaction to something, it settled in with us in a different way. Because another prime directive, I wasn't even going to go over this one, is that our unconscious mind is very literal, very, very literal. So she took that and she carried it into other areas. So that's what I mean is it doesn't always have to be traumatic. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's minor. Okay. The third piece is your unconscious mind also, it controls all your perceptions. So that's what I just explained with this. So when you are looking through this lens of things, and if you're really stuck, if you're really struggling or you really want to get to that next level of success, I work with successful people. A lot of them are already successful. They want to get a little bit higher, or they're very successful and they're struggling with relationships at home because they're maybe ignoring their spouses, or maybe they're short with their kids because they're so busy. So I work with people on both sides of that. But whenever the perceptions aren't clear, when we can clean that up and really get to the core, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that, it makes everything better. So can you see, let's pretend like all those splotches were there, and then I go in and I clean them all up. We clean them all up and then you put them on and then you can see clearly and you're able to make better decisions. So I hope that makes sense, the analogy of it. Okay, so number 4, I hope I'm counting right. So we got stores memories, it represses memories, it controls all perceptions, and then number 4 is it takes everything personally. I know you know about this because this is the concept of perception is projection that we sometimes do. So we are sometimes offended by the smallest, tiniest little things, and it's not warranted. It's really not warranted, and we don't know why we do it. A lot of times we don't even realize that we are doing it. And this, again, can disappear when we get to the problem at the unconscious level. These are all programs that are running in your unconscious mind 90% of the time. This is why people stay stuck. This is why they can't get past things. So that taking everything personally can really affect people. I'm working with a newer client actually this week, and I know this is a huge problem for her with taking things personally. And she knows it's a problem for her. And it's one of the first things that we're getting to the core with when we do our 4-hour session. So I'm excited to see, what results she gets from our session, because it's been doing that. Her unconscious mind has been doing this to her for a really long time. So that's the 4th one. And the very last one is it works on the principle of least effort. I know you know. So this is the comfort zone. So I know you know about this one, but we're programmed to do what's easy. That's what's comfortable to our unconscious mind. It's what protects us. It thinks that it's protecting us, because fear, really, that's really the higher level of fear, is that it's protecting us. But really it's not, because we know when we think about just the common sense of that, when you can bring that up to the conscious level and think about it in a practical way, it doesn't make sense, because fear keeps us stuck, right? So it works on the principle of least effort. It wants to do what's easy. And we all love easy, right? Even at a conscious level, we love easy. But we also know that if we're going to move ahead and have success in our business, in our personal life, with our relationships, whatever that is, we have to be able to move past that, and then so that we can get to the next level. So now I've given you the reasons why you're stuck. Now I'll give you a little bit of some insight on what you can do about it. Number one is, I actually had somebody recently who scheduled a discovery call with me, and then they canceled. And so we had never even talked. Never, and they just decided that it wasn't for them for whatever reason. But one of the things that I think about when people start to move towards something that they want and to fix it, and then they pull back, is that the pain's not big enough. So I want to give you a couple of questions that you can use to determine and to help your unconscious mind decide whether or not it wants to move forward, and to kind of help push that along. So if the pain isn't big enough, remember that prime directive that it works on the principle of least effort. If your unconscious mind is viewing that it is easier to stay where you are, then it's not going to change. So the very first question that you would want to ask yourself, especially if you're stuck or you're not reaching that level that you want to get to, that is, what is the price of being stuck? So what is that costing you? Really dive into that. So if you are stuck, it's not an easy question to answer. So this is like pull out a journal and really set aside some time kind of thing. But what is it costing you? Sometimes you may know right away. Sometimes you may need to dig, but it will take some really inner, reflection on your part to get to this. What is it costing you to stay stuck? Is it costing you your business? Do you know within all your soul that you could be up here, but you're stuck down here and you're just remaining there? Are you struggling with relationships? Like, what is the cost of that? I know in our family, I openly have shared this, that, there was a time that me and my husband really struggled in our relationship, and we decided to do something about it. So like, what relationships are you willing to sacrifice? What business opportunities are you willing to sacrifice? What is the real cost of staying stuck? So I don't want you to stay there, because we don't want you to like wallow in the pain of it. But it is really, really important to know what pain is there, because that will help move your unconscious mind forward into knowing what you need to do to fix it and to taking some action. If you've heard me talk about, this isn't away from strategy, which when we're stuck, sometimes it's a very effective thing. That's another live. I have a training on that. If you want that, I can point you in the right direction. But the second piece of this is, ask yourself, what would be different? What would be different in your life if you weren't stuck? How would life be different? What would change for you? How would your business look? How would your relationships look? How do you want them to look? Ask yourself these deep questions. Ask yourself, what is it possible? How could it be even better? Because when you ask yourself those two questions that are really kind of opposite, one you're pushing away, and the second one is the toward, where you're moving toward the goal and you're moving through. That's when you can see yourself start to make changes and start to seek and find the help or whatever it is you need that you're looking for. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, I'd love to hear your number one takeaway. Just comment below. Feel free to send me a message, and I always answer everything that anybody ever sends to me. Thank you again for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. All right. See you guys.